Tonight, the federal government has approved an agreement that will allow the merger of telecom giants Rogers and Shaw. Also, the city of Regina wants to revitalize its downtown, and that could involve changes to a major pedestrian pathway. Plus, Saskatchewan's oil and gas industry is working to reduce methane emissions, but not everyone says the data is accurate.
This is CBC Saskatchewan News.
It is Friday, March 31st, and the CBC Saskatchewan News starts right now. Good evening, and thank you for joining us. The city of Regina wants to revitalize its downtown, and change is already afoot. One of the projects plans to swap cobblestones for cars. Alexander Kwan has the latest.
For nearly 50 years, this section of Scarth Street has served as a pedestrian mall, connecting the Cornwall Centre behind me to Victoria Park. But now, these cobblestones may get torn up to make way for cars. Earlier this month, the city awarded a $230,000 contract to a company for engineering services, so change is moving forward, although details are limited and design work is not yet completed.
Scarth Street, the pedestrian mall, is the last piece in the donut that really needs to be addressed. So very welcome news.
The executive director of Regina Downtown Business Improvement District says most businesses on Scarth Street want some vehicle traffic. As for what she'd like to see,
I think what we're seeing, especially post-pandemic, is the need to have what we call flexible spaces that can do double duty. There's areas for partial closure during event nights or during summertime, but at the same time there is a very slow-moving lane of traffic that is allowed to accommodate deliveries, pickups, drop-offs, and loading zones.
Regina's mayor is on the record as being in favor of opening up this area to vehicles, while maintaining the ability to close it down for special events. But some planning experts say the city is moving in the wrong direction, that if you want to bring people downtown, the general principle has been to prioritize people over vehicles.
Sometimes when you have the buses over here, it's difficult to especially if you have to pick up somebody and drop somebody, that's difficult. So if there's another way this way, it could be a little better.
I disagree. I think people should be walking more.
I don't agree with it at all. I don't agree with them going down that part of the street either.
Actually, I'd prefer not to. It's such a nice space for people to get out for their daily walk, and it just creates a different atmosphere having that walking area. So
we have this assumption that to make this a better street or more accessible, it means that we have to be able to park directly in front. But through all of that, again, we'd be really losing one of the few spaces in downtown Regina that is truly a space where people can go and hang out and socialize.
Final designs for the Scarth Street project could come by the end of the year, and construction could begin by 2024. The project has a budget of just under $5 million. Alexander Kwan, CBC News, Regina.
An organization that wants better transit service in Regina says its challenge to the city's elected officials didn't go so well. Earlier this month, the Regina Citizens Public Transit Coalition issued a challenge urging city councillors to rely on Regina Transit for 48 hours. The organization said it wanted the city's elected officials to have a clear understanding of the systems that so many residents rely on. But in the end, only 3 councillors took part, and Mayor Sandra Masters had an assistant take her place because she said she was too busy.
I would consider it 100% if all the councillors and the mayor rode the bus. But until that occurs, we're going to have problems. And I've done this for 20 years. I don't want to do it for another 20.
The coalition said it received feedback from those who did take part in the challenge, and they said the frequency of transit buses was a major obstacle. Other issues included need for improved service on Sunday and holidays. The Saskatchewan Public Safety Agency and SGI were showing off a new program today, one that could help save someone's life in the event of an accident. Fire departments are able to apply to use this for training. It's called the Transportation Rescue Extrication, or TREX program. It's an auto extraction machine that helps first responders get people out of a wrecked vehicle. Officials say the program provides critical and high-tech training and equipment to provincial firefighters and volunteer departments.
The increased training and fire service capabilities will help decrease injuries and death after a motor vehicle accident occurs. The T-Rex program will also help ensure the safety of volunteer firefighters who respond to these type of incidents. It will help ensure that they can go back to their homes and to their families after putting their safety on the line for others.
The T-Rex program is the first of its kind in Canada. It cost $5.6 million, and that money's coming from SGI. The federal government has approved an agreement that will allow the merger of telecom giants Rogers and Shaw. The deal, valued at more than $20 billion, will see Shaw's wireless business, Freedom Mobile, be sold to Quebec-based Videotron. The arrangement comes 2 years after the merger was proposed and with more than 20 government-imposed conditions.
I have secured an unprecedented and legally enforceable set of commitments from both Rogers and Videotron. And after imposing strict conditions, the licenses from Freedom Mobile will be transferred to Videotron.
Rogers will take over Shaw's media and cable assets, most of which are in Western Canada. Rogers will be required to create 3,000 jobs in the West. It will also have to spend billions to expand its broadband and wireless networks and offer new, lower-cost plans to consumers for both services. Videotron will be required to become a national carrier and offer plans that are at least 20% cheaper than competitors. It is not allowed to sell the wireless assets to anyone else for at least a decade. Both firms could face significant fines if they fail to comply. A Saskatchewan singer is getting the chance to live the dream. Braden King is competing on American Idol. The 22-year-old from Weyburn now calls Alberta home, and he's got social media to thank for catching the attention of show producers.
'Cause I spend all my money on the things that I don't need. It's in my wallet since I threw it out last week. All the time, but somehow I just can't sleep. Oh man, I say I'm really living the dream.
One day I just woke up to a DM on Instagram from a American Idol casting producer. She was like, "Hey Braden, I've seen your videos on TikTok and I really like your voice. Would you like to potentially audition for American Idol?" And I was like, I thought it was a scam. I thought it was a joke. And it quickly became very real. I did a couple of Zoom virtual auditions with a couple different sets of producers. And then finally, the executive producer invited me down to Las Vegas to audition for Luke Bryan, Lionel Richie, and Katy Perry. Honestly, when I went in there, they were just all so cool and like kind, which I feel like to do this kind of thing, they kind of have to be. But they were very genuine and like they asked a lot of questions before they even got me to sing. Like they wanted to know about my life and everything, and that was really, really nice of them to just really, it just seemed like they cared a lot, so that was cool. I sang my first song, which was an original song called Down That Road, and I sang it, and they really dug that song. Like they were all grooving, and like Luke said, he was like, "Oh, it's like kind of Ed Sheeran meets Chris Stapleton," and I was like, "Yeah, that was kind of the goal." And after some discussion, they decided that they really liked me. And Lionel, first off, he said, "I want to join the fan club." And then Katie was like, "Is your dad here?" And I was like, yeah, my dad's here. So we brought him into the room, and we actually lost my mom in July from cancer. And that was a really tough road and still is always. And it was a big thing for me to have my dad there with me. So they asked him quite a bit about that, you know, like gave their condolences, which was very, very kind of them. And then Katie said, "Well, Greg, Lionel gave your son a yes, and I want to give your son a yes." And then Luke said, "And I'm going to give him his third yes." And then they all screamed together, "You're going to Hollywood." So now it's on to Hollywood Week, and that airs this weekend. I get to post updates to tell everybody how far I've made it and everything like that. And there's going to be updates coming. I'm going to keep everyone informed, and I can't wait to do that.
It's officially playoff time in the WHL. The first round matchup has the third-seeded Saskatoon Blades taking on the sixth-seeded Regina Pats. The Blades start with home ice advantage tonight and Sunday. During the regular season, the Blades won 41 games with 101 points, one of the best in the team's history. But don't count out the Regina Pats and captain Connor Bedard, who led the WHL in points. Games 3 and 4 on Tuesday and Wednesday will be played in Regina. There are still some tickets available for all of the games. We'll be back after the break. A big thank you this week for a creative charity designed to support women. University students and local businesses supply free tampons and menstrual products in Windsor, Ontario. Every once in a while, someone lets them know how much the service is appreciated.
This is our period pantry that we have outside of the shop. It's hosted by Girl Up Windsor, and we're always accepting donations for it.
The community loves it. It's helped a lot. We've gotten so much positive feedback about it, and we find that we're always restocking at least once a week. So I went to go restock the pantry one day, and I found a letter in there, and it was from someone anonymously, and they were just thanking us for having that in front of the store so they can access it. Dear P Pantry, you'll never understand what a blessing this is. Been unemployed 2 months due to an injury and have had little to no money. This has helped me so much when trying to make ends meet. You've saved me during my time of the month. XO Anonymous.
And how does it feel just reading that out loud?
I think it's very sweet, and it's kind of shocking, not really shocking, I guess, but to know that just something so simple can make someone's life completely different. And I mean, period products are very expensive, and it's something that happens to all women. And it sucks that we have to pay for it every month, and it's just something that happens naturally. So this is a really great initiative. I wish that more places had this.
This weather update is brought to you by Crestview Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, part of the Capital Automotive Group.
And Heather Morrison joins me now with a look at your forecast, and it could be a busy weekend on Saskatchewan highways with those hockey playoffs underway.
Yes, absolutely. So if you are heading up here for game 1 and you're just trying to scoot up to Saskatchewan Centre for that 7 p.m. Puck drop tonight, you're probably okay. Skies are pretty clear, temps are nice, maybe a little bit breezy, but I'm going to tell you what's coming for those travelers on Sunday in just a moment. But right now, let's look at what we're dealing with in the province in terms of temperature. Pretty nice day today. Now, of course, we are still about 6 or 7 degrees below seasonal for this time of year, but not too shabby compared to what we were dealing with earlier in the week. So as you can see, everybody's hovering around that freezing mark. It's maybe a little bit colder in the far north. Now, in terms of what we're going to be dealing with temperatures for the weekend. So this is right now, the blues mean cooler, and as we get greener or more bright green, we get warmer. So let's take a look now at Saturday. Bam! You can see we get ourselves tucked into a ridge in the upper atmosphere here. Everybody except for the far north is going to really see a sincere warm up. So tomorrow is going to be our warmest day of the week. And then I do hate to say that because as we head into Sunday, you can see it's a lot cooler in the province. And that's just because of the way that the upper atmosphere is shifting. Now, with these warmer temperatures, that means we're also getting a lot of snow melt. So for those of us who suffer from snow mold allergies, those are coming into play right now. So I'll just let you know, snow mold is a fungus that grows on organic matter under the snow. So it thrives on that moisture that comes out of that melting snow when the temp's near zero. And the allergy symptoms include a stuffy nose and watery eyes, things I am experiencing today. So how do you feel better if you're one of those people like me? There's lots of us out there. You can put an air filter in your bedroom. Doctors also recommend wearing a mask for yard work. You can take an antihistamine if those are okay for you. And one of the other things they recommend is you break up the snow so it melts faster and you deprive that snow or that organic matter of the moisture that it needs in order to thrive. Now, the one thing about this nice weather is we're also getting this big wind. That's why I said it's going to be breezy on the highway. As you can see, Maple Creek there, 46 kilometer per hour winds. Swift Current got to 58 at one point today, so it was quite a swift day in that city. Tomorrow, we're going to see more of that wind and into Sunday as well. Now, in terms of cloud cover, we're just scooting ahead here, but this is actually what's happening on Sunday. So I'll just let you know, just back up for a second. We are very clear for today, and then tomorrow it's just going to be a scattered shower, but this is what is coming here on Sunday. And so that's why, Sam, I was saying, if you're coming for that 4 p.m. game at Saskatchewan Center, Blaze versus Pats in that first round of playoffs, you got to watch that highway there. You can see Highway 11 between Regina and Saskatoon. It's going to be covered in snow and mixed precipitation for most of the day. Here's your 7-day forecast for Regina. So as you can see, Saturday, warmest day of the week, going to get to +4. That's still a little bit below normal for this time of year. And then bam, that snow comes on Sunday with a little bit of cooler temperatures as well. Saskatoon following a very same trend, but a little bit cooler. +2 is going to be our high for tomorrow. Of course, we get a little bit less wind up here in the central region, so that might balance it out. And then tomorrow, we've got that snowfall, and it's going to be -4. And then we're going to stick around that temperature for the rest of the week. So that doesn't make me hopeful that that snow mold is going away. But the caveat here, Sam, is that wind actually does help because it blows it away. So that's one good thing to be grateful for with the wind.
I will be so excited when the snow mold is gone because I feel, the suffering is real. Thanks, Heather.
You're welcome.
Well, it might not feel entirely springy outside, but this might help get you in the spirit anyways. This weekend, the Spring Home Show is back at Real District in Regina. Contractors, builders, renovators, landscapers, suppliers, and designers are all on hand to show off the latest and greatest trends and maybe give you some inspiration. You can check it out till 8 o'clock tonight, from 10 to 8 tomorrow, and 10 to 5 on Sunday. We'll be back after the break. Saskatchewan emits the most greenhouse gases per capita in Canada. A big part of those emissions is methane gas. And a big chunk of that methane comes from our oil and gas sector. In the final part of his series on methane solutions, Ethan Williams shows us how the oil and gas industry has made improvements in emissions. But it comes with a dose of skepticism.
Saskatchewan's oil and gas sector accounts for 58% of our province's methane emissions. Most of those greenhouse gas emissions come from drilling, processing, or venting oil and gas. According to the government of Saskatchewan, the oil and gas industry has made improvements in reducing methane emissions. A report shows that in 2021, emissions had dropped by 60% since 2015. That surpassed a goal the government set in 2019 in its methane action plan to lower emissions by 40 to 45% by 2025. But it's up to the energy companies to report emissions to the government. And recently, there have been reports of methane leaking from oil and gas sites, or underreporting. That includes a report published in the journal Environmental Science and Technology in February. Researchers at Carleton University in Ottawa measured methane emissions from hundreds of heavy oil facilities in the province. They found facilities released almost 4 times what they reported to government.
Regulations in place now are currently trying to get to a 45% reduction by 2025. This magnitude of emissions completely scuttles that.
But Johnson says emission reduction targets are still possible, and there are solutions. In fact, in February of 2022, the federal government gave $20 million to energy companies in the province, the goal to start or continue methane reduction projects. Now, all of those companies either declined to speak with CBC or didn't respond to interview requests about those projects. But we did find one organization in the province working with those companies to reduce emissions. So we hit the road. Moosomin, a bustling town of about 2,600 people and a hub for southeastern Saskatchewan oil production. So we are here today in Moosomin at iJack Technologies, and we're going to get a look at a device that they have been marketing for the past few years that they say helps reduce methane emissions in the oil field. They have it ready for us now, so let's go take a look.
These barrels at the end are hydraulic, so this unit is hydraulically driven.
This is iJack's vapor recovery unit. It reduces methane emissions from oil storage tanks, which methane can leak out of. The device captures the gas, compresses it, and sends it down a line to a processing facility.
They could use it to generate power or and any other processes, anything they can make out of the gas or the vapors.
Beals says this can eliminate essentially all emissions on site. Oil and gas operators can actually avoid paying the carbon tax or gain environmental credits by sending the emissions to processing facilities. It's made the devices very popular, with units on order, ready to be shipped. But is this all just an attempt for oil and gas operators to collect environmental credits rather than actually having concern for the environment? Not the case, says Beals.
This is a cost for them. When you're pouring a bunch of money in to protect the environment without getting any physical return, money return, profits, I think that shows that they care about the environment.
But Emily Eaton is skeptical. She's spent her career researching fossil fuels and the oil and gas industry as a professor at the University of Regina. Eaton says more oversight of energy companies' emission reports is needed. She also says the province using 2015 as its first reporting year in its 10-year methane action plan gives an inaccurate picture of emissions reduction.
2015 was the last good year before the first major downturn that we've seen recently. And so they're using a sort of all-time high as their base year from which we should be reducing greenhouse gas emissions.
But Debbie Westerman with the Ministry of Energy and Resources says 2015 was chosen because that's when a new computer system was implemented.
So because of that, we had more consistent and accurate data than we had previously. So that was our starting spot.
In the meantime, the debate continues about if these practices are effective or making progress. Ethan Williams, CBC News, Regina.
And Heather is back with one last look at your weather.
Yeah, Sam, let's take a look at what we're going to be dealing with overnight as March finally leaves us. I would say a little lamb-like, but could be lambier. So -6 overnight with a wind chill of -13. And then as you wake up tomorrow morning, still a little chilly. It's going to be quite breezy overnight. And you can see by noon here in Regina, got that wind really picking up, 21 kilometer per hour wind speeds, and then gusts up to 32. And then similar story here in Saskatoon. You know, it's just not quite the March 31st we'd like to see. Our lows are usually a little bit higher than this. -4 is what we're going to be waking up to tomorrow. And then by noon, it's going to be +1, and that's going to be closer high. But as you can see, it's going to be quite gusty with a wind tomorrow in Saskatoon. And Sam, that's a look at your overnight forecast.
All right. Thanks, Heather. Have a good weekend.
Yes, you too.
And before we leave you, an update on a story we brought you last night. An Ontario man has won more than $2 million in a local Chase the Ace raffle. And he did it by picking an envelope containing the coveted Ace of Spades.
Well, it is the Ace of Spades!
The winner wasn't even at the event last night. He lives about 20 kilometers away. Thousands of tickets were sold for the charity raffle held by the local Lions Club. The Catch the Ace contest ran for 45 weeks, with the winning amount growing with each draw. It raised about $3 million before expenses for 2 local charities. And that is it for us this week. But before we go, we want to wish a hearty congratulations to our late night host, Glenn Reed. Glenn is heading into a well-deserved retirement. Tonight, after 37 years at CBC, he will host his last newscast at 11 o'clock. We are so happy for you. You've more than earned it. As for the rest of us, we're back Monday at 6. Have a good weekend.